Bleachers. As always, I'm your host, Keanen Tregaskis, joined again by Spencer Pomeroy. Alex was out of town this weekend, so Spencer is filling in. Last weekend, Mets and Yankees had their first three games of the year. The rivalry weekend is what the MLB's calling it. Juan Soto had himself an interesting weekend. You're the Yankees fan. I'm sure you either watched the games or were paying attention. You had any thoughts on that whole situation?
Yeah, I loved it. If I'm going to be honest, especially the reception that he got. I knew it was going to be pretty rough. I think probably most of the fans in the office thought that they were going to keep him when they traded for him, get a deal done. Didn't happen. So of course, the Bronx faithful came out, booed the crap out of him. Aaron Boone wasn't surprised at all. He said, and he didn't play that well, not running the ball out. I don't really care about that, but as a Yankees fan, I love to see it.
Yeah. Well, beyond that, there was the whole lack of hustle too, which is just kind of shocking from Soto.
Yeah, and he wasn't doing the shuffle either, apparently, really. So I don't know if he's in his head or not. I don't see this being a problem, though. I think he's too good of a player to, like, I get what people are saying, highest paid player in the league. I think it was last night, collided with someone in right field trying to field a ball. But he's just in his head a bit, and it's a tough market, New York. But, he's just too good a player that I think fans will easily forget when he has his next good game.
Yeah, when he strings together a couple good games now. Because if you look at his numbers, they're good for an MLB player, but they're not Juan Soto numbers, right?
No, so he's due to go on a tear at some point, find his groove. Yeah, they're good numbers, but for the contract he has, obviously no. And it's not like he's a Gold Glover out there either, but yeah, he's had his struggles, grounding into a lot of double plays.
Yeah.
I think they expected more, but there's still lots of time left in the season for him.
I think the only thing you can complain about as a Mets fan is that he thinks he's hustling. Like, he doesn't see a problem with the way he's playing right now. That's the only thing you can complain about currently. But I think his play will get better because there's too much of a sample size. He's been around since 2019. Like, he's an amazing player. And that's just known by now.
Yeah, and guys running out ground balls. Do you really want them to risk, it sounds dumb, risk an injury on a lazy ground ball to second or short when, at least go to the bag, the very odd time a guy just doesn't happen anymore, turn around and go to the dugout. But, yeah, at least take a stroll there, and why risk trying to beat that out anyways?
Yeah, that's fair. Lots of news in the small markets as well. Not good news for any of these teams, except maybe the Orioles, but they still have an awful record. They did finally fire Brandon Hyde. The manager is gone. I don't think he's the root of all their problems because he's not the one who hired the pitching staff that they're throwing out there every day, but he's certainly not helping with the on-field performance of everyone I think everyone's underperforming from last year.
Yeah, and that's, you're hoping that the hitting was going to carry this team. At least that's what the front office hoping. Rushman, great defensive player, just not hitting for average. Nobody does anymore. But I think they were hoping to continue on the magic from last year with guys like Ryan O'Hearn and that, who's played decent this year, actually. But, everyone's kind of taken a small step back, I would say. Even Gunnar Henderson a bit, taken a small step back in his numbers. Kierstad, they're still waiting for him to take the next leap. Holiday's starting to come around a bit, but the pitching staff, when you have to, go into a game as a hitter and be like, damn, we got to put up 7 runs or something if we want to win this game. That's tough. They're not winning the game, a 3-2 game.
No, they aren't. I think it's a lost year for them. You kind of have to consider it like a retool year. Pick up some pitching deals that you can through trades. I think we've touched on this. They've got prospects still they got to get rid of because there's no room for them. It's the same story for the Orioles until something does happen because it wasn't just the manager. Everyone was underperforming.
No, and look at the division too, and I think that's why they haven't made any moves. The Red Sox playing well and Yankees, that they got an uphill battle if they want to get into the playoffs. So it is a lost season, and it might be time to. I don't know. I don't know if there's really anyone you could sell off. O'Hearn maybe at the deadline, but it's
Mullins, because he's a free agent at the end of the year.
yeah, they gotta somehow get some promising arms in there, and yeah, and play for next season already, which is tough to say when it's nearing the end of May.
Yeah, it's the opposite situation there in Pittsburgh, though. Great pitching, awful hitting, to the point that the general manager had to come out and denounce Paul Skenes trade rumors. Paul Skenes had to come out and say it himself, I'm not getting traded. Like, I don't know if this has ever happened in the MLB where you've got a second year player to his caliber just getting some trade rumors already, like heavily.
I think it's all media buzz because everybody loves Paul Skeens, so the media and the fans just want to get him out of there. They're generating stuff. I think it in the terms of how they operate, I think it definitely makes sense to move on from him because they're not going to build around him. Did you see that other rumor too, a small one, that they were trying to go after Bryce Harper too?
Yeah, I didn't find. You were telling me about this. I didn't find
Yeah,
anything.
it was from a crappy source the other day. But
So
anyways, that one's hard to believe. But yeah, unless you're gonna build around him, I'm moving on from him. But I think definitely this was something the media saw some small thing and they ran away with it.
yeah, it is all on the media. I think if anything, the media should be criticizing ownership for not pouring any money into this team, treating it like it's a minor league team. Really, like what? Their
Yeah,
last multi-year contract that their owner handed out was Ivan Nova in 2016.
Yankee legend Ivan Nova. Actually, wasn't that bad of a player, but still, that's
That can't
almost
be
10
the
years ago.
last multi-year contract you gave to a free agent to come to town. Like you've got
No, and
an amazing. You've got an amazing pitcher to build around. Bubba Chandler's going to be up at some point this year too. Like you got to do something.
yeah, and we'll get to Jared Jones too, but it's not like they have some pieces on offense too, and that, I mean, Joey Bart's kind of turned his career around a bit. Brian Hayes, yeah, maybe he's not the player they wanted him to be, but there are some pieces on that offense. It's just getting a couple, not more than a couple, I would say actually, but coming out and saying yes, we're going to invest in this team would go a long way for the fans, but I just don't see that happening based on the history.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say the same thing. History. He's been there too long, done too little. They if the plan is to build around Paul Skeens and build a proper future, it's going to be with a new owner.
Yeah, and I think two teams are saying about lots of mock trades and that. How do you value a trade for a player who only plays every fifth day? And I think that's also hard as well, looking at the trade packages. I don't think they would get as much as they'd hope, but there are some loaded minor league systems that could definitely send a haul over there. But I think it's just a tough trade to manufacture, and I think that might spell the end of a lot of Pirates fans if they send
There's
him
not many
packing.
left to begin
Not
with.
many left.
They're already leaving the stadium.
Yeah.
They're gone. Yeah, Jared Jones, he's been shut down for the year after undergoing elbow surgery. General manager, the coaching staff said it wasn't entirely black and white when it was in spring training. They thought it was just a sprain. It's unfortunately not. He's undergoing surgery. Done for the year. Gonna have about a 10 to 12 month recovery. They hope he can help him win next year. Yeah,
Yeah, it's disappointing. I thought he was really going to be the Robin to the Paul Skeens Batman, have a good one too, but
well, he kind of was last year.
he was, and if they had that this year, they'd have a few more wins, but still, that it's two good pieces to build around, and he was definitely a guy showing lots of promise for the future for them. Still a really young guy who's going to have a good career, but hopefully he comes back strong and finds his stuff quick.
Yeah, it all depends on how he comes back from the injury, because you never know, especially with young guys, how they react to such a life altering surgery. Like he's not gonna be throwing a baseball for the rest of the calendar year at least.
No, and it's risky too, but it could be beneficial to
Yeah.
have this earlier in your career than when you're 28 or something, and then definitely it's more risky. But
Yeah, like I said, it just depends on how he reacts post surgery. But yeah, you touched on the offense needing multiple pieces. The Pirates tied the modern era record of consecutive games scoring 4 or less runs, which was 26 straight games. And the only reason they didn't break it was some late inning runs a couple nights ago too.
yeah, I mean, modern baseball, it's hitting the long ball, and they're not doing that. So maybe you have to go back to the old school ways, just find a way to manufacture a run,
Small ball.
bunt some guys over. But I don't know. It's just they don't have any power in their lineup really. That's the problem.
I think with the lineup they got, it's easier to teach those bottom half guys to bunt than it is to get them to hit a couple home runs a month.
Yeah, lead off double, get the guy. You got to get the guy to third, and
Yeah. Well, Neil Cruz is always on base.
yeah,
You always have a chance there.
he's
lead
got
off-
wheels. So
If he doesn't hit a double, he hits a single, and he can steal second base, then you bunt him across.
yeah,
You just got to find ways to manufacture runs. That's all on the manager there. But
yeah, and I would not want that job right now.
no, it's a mess. But it's what the problems are at least.
And I think that would be super frustrating for a manager, knowing, I'm sure they have meeting with the management and the owners and knowing that, how do you have any hope, I guess? You're just trying to maximize the players that you have, but at a point it's like, okay, I'm squeezing every last drop out of these guys. I need some help. Someone's got to help me out here.
Someone
Get
would
me
have
someone
to step
here.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna switch it up here a little bit. A little bit of a more positive story. Ronald Acuna Jr., wearing the Braves hat, returned from his ACL injury, homered on the first pitch he saw. Braves couldn't do him any help, couldn't win the game, but nice return to form for him. 2 hits last night, great throw from right field. He's back.
Yeah, I saw the throw, and then that's such a typical Ronald Acuna way to come back.
Yeah.
First pitch too, just smack one. That they needed him back though. They needed that energy into the team, and hopefully it wasn't just a flash in the pan game 1, but he should be around. He was showing the defense too. I saw the throw in to get the guy. I don't know. It looks like he hasn't missed a step.
If you watch the box score, you wouldn't think the Braves just got their superstar player back. They only scored 1 run last night. They were flat.
Yeah, they gotta Matt Olson, get him going, and
Well, he had been going though. He hit like 7 home runs his last 7 games.
yeah, he's a big strikeout guy too. But
Yeah.
stringing your players together is the hardest part in baseball. Getting everyone going at the same time.
Yeah. But they got such a deep lineup now, especially with Acuna back,
Yeah,
that you can afford to have a guy take a night off here and there, but going 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position, and the only one that was a hit was the bottom of the 9th, where Eli White didn't realize the ball wasn't caught, ran back to second base, and was tagged out.
yeah.
Which is you can't have that happen.
Man, you got to manufacture runs.
Yeah. Your Yankees were in Colorado last night. The Rockies off to an 8-42 start, worst 50 game start in the modern era. Got their 9th win last night though, looking for their first series win, looking for the 10th win of the season too. But that's a brutal start.
Yeah, it's worse than the White Sox, and we thought that was bad. But
Yeah, worse than every other team in MLB history. I think they're on pace for like 29 wins right now.
yeah, they just don't. I mean, obviously, no pitcher wants to go and pitch there, but at the same time, it's another. I don't think hitting wise they're actually been that bad on the season, but playing sports, losing is contagious, right? It's hard to get out of that funk, and coming to the stadium and knowing you're probably going to get your ass beat. Looking at the betting odds before every game, which some guys do probably. When you're a plus 300 favorite every game, it's tough. Like, okay, we're about to get our ass beat, and we're on a horrible 50 game stretch here, and then the Yankees are coming to town. They pull out a win last night though. They called up a guy Gordon, 6 innings, pitched well, and only gave up 2 runs to the Yankees. So and one was to Judge. So I'd say that's a maybe they're starting to turn the corner around here. But I think they do have some pieces that will they be better than the White Sox? I actually think so. I think they have a lot of good young talent, especially if they get called up later. This is a team that could do, they're not going to go on a run and make the playoffs, but I think they'll do better than the White Sox last season.
Yeah, well, it's tough to do worse than the worst team in MLB history, but what they have going for them is, like you said, the young guys that can get called up and the young guys that are already called up. Ezekiel Tovar, they still got McMahon for some reason. He hasn't been traded. Dollander, who can maybe pitch well, especially on the road. But yeah, they've got the young guys who can have good games. It's just probably very demoralizing to be a young guy getting your first major league innings, your first major league at bats, and you're just playing for the worst team possible.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. They got a couple good arms in the pen too. That Halverson kid, he can throw hard, and Agnos has been good for them. But yeah, I mean, I think your first few games, you're excited, you're getting called up, you're playing, but then I think it starts to get on you. It's like, okay, this is going to be my life for the next few years.
It doesn't help that they play in the NL West with the Diamondbacks, Padres, Giants, and Dodgers. Like, they're 3-13 on their in the division games.
Yeah, that doesn't help them at all. And they have most of those teams have really good pitching staff, so they're playing good arms every night.
Yeah,
it's just
they all have amazing offenses too.
Yeah, it's backs against the wall. I mean, you're not even looking to be good in the next 3 years, probably.
No, it's a full rebuild
that they might not be able to get out of. But we've seen them in the past had great players and could get into the wild card, but
just sneak in. Yeah, they're a couple years away from just sneaking in, though. Couple pieces on the offense, couple pitchers,
couple prospects turning it on too.
Yeah. The problem with the Rockies is they won't trade away their guys to rebuild for the future, or when they do, it's an Arenado trade.
Yeah, and then you're
giving up
millions
of dollars.
Yeah. And then they tried to sign, obviously, Chris Bryant, and we know how that turned out.
Oh, I forgot. I forgot he was still there.
I think he might be done, injured.
At least he went to a weaker team that wasn't expected to play. It's almost like he knew his body was done. He was like, I'll just take the bag, hang out in Colorado.
Took his pension and
pretty much
ran.
Could have pulled a Rendon, go to a team that wants to win, and just say, I don't enjoy playing baseball.
You know what? Going back to that Soto thing for a minute, I saw all on Twitter and whatever, people were saying he's going to be the next Bobby Bonilla, and I said, there is absolutely no way that happens. Completely different talent, for sure.
Yeah, well, Bobby Bonilla was also because they didn't pay him up front. They deferred a lot of the money.
Yeah, so
that's the reason he's getting paid for the extra 30 years.
I don't know if they think they're getting out of this contract and they're going to be paying him for the next 100 years, but it might have even been Frank Tank. He's an overreactor, obviously. But I think that's a bit of a reach.
A bit of a reach, yeah. Let's go into the standings. How's the AL East looking?
It's always a dogfight in the AL East with those damn Red Sox. But, I mean, Yankees are in first place. They're 10 games above 500, playing well at home. They got a plus 94 run differential right now, which is excellent. And then it's a battle for second spot. Blue Jays are sitting 500 in second place. Red Sox are 500 in third place. The Rays are still kicking around. They're in fourth. They're only 2 games from 500. 6 games back. So you're still within striking distance. The Orioles, basement of the division, lost season 16-33, minus 99 run differential. 1-9 in their last 10. It's going to be, will the Yankees falter, get more injuries, and it's the Jays and Red Sox have a chance? But looks like it's a battle with 3 teams for that second spot.
Yeah, well, and especially with the way the wild card race is looking, you just need to be a couple games above 500 right now. Because the Royals have the last spot, obviously still months away, but every game counts.
Yep.
Especially if you're the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, where you're still 500. I don't think many people expected this for the Blue Jays. I don't think Alex did. He's always ripping on them, being a Blue Jays fan.
No, and the games now are worth the exact same amount as the games in September. So.
Yeah. If you can win them now there's less pressure because the playoffs don't start next week, you can set yourself up a little better when there is more pressure in September.
Exactly. These are the games, when you lose a crappy game or a game you should have won at this time of the season, these are the ones you look back on when you're in the dead of a wild card race and be like, damn, if we only would have pulled those couple ones out that we completely fumbled, we'd be in a way better spot.
Winnable games at home against a weak team. But hey, they're all professionals. I did think Boston would be off to a better start. Offensive, they're one of the best, but it's just the pitching.
Yeah, and I think that was their weak spot where, they got crocheted, but there's still lots of questions. Tanner Houck has been a shell of his former self.
I wouldn't even say he's been worse than...
One of the worst pitchers in the league.
Yeah, an absolute implosion. You'd think he'd be on the IL, that's how bad he's pitching.
Yeah, and having him in fantasy too, fantasy play, is... I've lived the Tanner Houck experience this season.
Yeah. National League East, the Phillies are red hot right now. 8-game win streak got them in first place in this division. First place in the MLB right now, 33-18. 3 games up on the New York Mets, who have stumbled a little bit to 30-21. Had that big extra inning game last night against the Dodgers. Almost made a great comeback. Couldn't pull it off in the end. Atlanta falling right below 500 again. 3-game losing streak to go to 24-26. Washington and just the James Wood show, really. They're 23-28. They just had a 5-game winning streak snapped. And Miami pulling up the rear, 19-30. It's just one of those years for the Marlins.
Yeah, the plus about the Marlins is they got a couple good Canadians playing right now. I think it was the other night, Cal Quantrill had a great game, and it was Liam Hicks, I believe, the catcher, who was a Canadian, hit the walk-off. So at least they got some Canadians representing there. The Phillies, though, if they're poised to maybe have another good playoff run, I would say they could make a couple moves, but pitching-wise, they're one of the top pitching staffs in the league, and they're pretty balanced with the sticks, too, I would say. All sorts of different kinds of bats in that lineup, speed, power. So, and they're finding that, this is one of those spots now where they're all clicking at the same time. Just how do you maintain that?
The only thing for the offense is age is starting to hit them a little bit. Every key contributor is in their mid-30s at this point. You just wonder how they do in 162 games and beyond.
Yeah, how do you fit in some rest for them? And that's why you need to keep pushing now to get more of a buffer in the standings, and then towards the end, maybe sit a few guys. But Kyle Schwarber doesn't show any signs of slowing down anytime soon.
No, 17 home runs. It's the same story for him every year. Just mashes home runs.
I mean, he was a trade target for the Yankees for years, and I don't think fans really wanted him. But after seeing the consistent production he has, he'll be in the Hall of Very Good.
The Hall of Very Good, yeah. How's the AL Central looking?
Oh, the AL Central, it's
been good.
It's been good. It's kind of the forgotten division, I think, but they're playing well. Tigers are in first place, 6-4 in their last 10, so they're coming back down a bit. 33 wins. Guardians in second. They're 4 games back, tied with the Twins at 4 games back, 6 games above 500. So this division's performing better than the AL East. And then the Royals are in 4th, 5 games back. So it's looking like a 4-horse race in this div. The White Sox in the basement, obviously 16 and 35. 4 and 6 in their last 10, so that's pretty impressive for them. But I think the surprise right now is probably the Minnesota Twins, 8 and 2 in their last 10. They started to turn it around. Plus 34 run differential. They're getting the pitch in and they're doing enough hitting. But this should be a good 4-horse race until the end.
Yeah. Well, they had that 13-game winning streak there, the Twins, to really get them back into the race, make them competitive again. Like they were sitting quite a bit below 500 there. It was like, oh, it's the same story as last year. There's just nothing going on.
Yeah.
Got a little healthier. Got a nice winning streak going.
Joe Ryan's been very good for them. So
yeah. See if Royce Lewis can turn it around. We know what he can do. He just hasn't done anything yet this year.
Gotta stay healthy. The best ability is availability, and that goes to anything in life.
It does. Well, that's the problem with the Twins, though. That's been their downfall.
Yeah.
And then I think even 2 years ago when they made the playoffs, beat the Blue Jays, and then I think they had some injuries in the playoffs. I don't think they would have beaten Houston anyways, but still.
I mean, you got the fans are due for something. I know they
desperate.
have a lot of diehard fans in Minnesota.
Even just Minnesota sports, they haven't won a championship since like the 90s. Whenever the Twins won one last, I think.
Yeah, and if they can get out of this division, I mean, that would be quite the accomplishment.
Yeah. NL Central, I think the only division forgotten more than the AL Central. Chicago Cubs, 31 and 20. They've been legit. They still have the best offense in the MLB. Only offense to score 300 runs so far this season. St. Louis, they're still above 500, 28 and 23. Milwaukee feels like a retool, 25 and 27. Cincinnati, you and Alex both pretty high on them, but they're still 25 and 27. And then obviously Pittsburgh, 18 and 34. Just can't score runs.
Yeah, the Reds' problem is consistency. I've seen them play well, smack the ball around, pitch well. Then the next game, they won't score any runs. They're a seesaw team. They play great one game, then the next night they take the night off. They take too many nights off, and that's not gonna get you into the playoffs. I think the Cardinals are a bit of a surprise, 28 and 23, but they were an older roster, but they have some younger guys who are starting to turn around and play for them. They should be competitive for the foreseeable future, and I don't know if anyone really expected the Cubs to be this strong. I knew they had a decent pitching staff, but to lead the league in runs, that Kyle Tucker trade, really helped them a lot in that lineup, and they're getting production from everyone, even the catcher, Carson Kelly, who looked like a lost cause in, I believe it was Arizona. It's their division to lose.
Yeah, and that's without mentioning Pete Crow Armstrong, who is...
How could I forget?
Been an MVP candidate so far this season.
Yeah.
Seiya Suzuki's still smashing the ball. They got 4 guys who have hit more than 10 home runs this year.
Yeah. Can you believe that Pete Crow Armstrong's parents are Sheryl Crow and Lance Armstrong? He's batting cleanup. I thought he was just going to be a 9-hole hitter and slapping the ball and stealing bases, but this guy can get the wood on the ball.
Yeah. Could you imagine if the Mets still had him?
Oh, he'd be a household name for years.
Oh yeah, he'd be the talk of the town.
Yeah.
When they didn't trade him for half a year of Javier Baez.
Well, they needed the Baez that's playing right now for the Tigers.
Yeah, that's a nice surprise too. How's the AL West?
AL West, it's a
streaky division.
I've always loved this division just because you never know who's going to take it. You know who's not going to take it is the Athletics. They're in the bottom basement, probably playing better. We're playing better. They're on a 10-game losing streak right now, actually. So they're 22 and 30 in last. But the Mariners are in first place. They're getting the pitching. They're getting, Jorge Polanco's turned it around a bit, so they're getting the hitting too. Astros in second. They're a game up. of 500. Angels are 500, and the Texas Rangers are in fourth, 2 games back of 500. So they're still kind of in the thick of it too. They've lost 5 straight, and they are not scoring any runs really this season.
Yeah, I don't think anyone thought that would be the Rangers' problem, seeing how they played the last couple of years.
Yeah,
But
and DeGrom has pitched well for them actually too,
yeah,
and Nathan Eovaldi, they
the
have the
whole
pitching.
rotation
Yeah,
has been solid. The Athletics, we knew it was going to happen eventually. I didn't think it would happen this quickly, but they have fallen apart now, mostly due to that pitching staff being horrendous, the worst in the American League, worse than the Baltimore Orioles in terms of runs allowed.
I mean, it's you have a young staff. They're playing with what they got. They signed Severino, but
He hasn't been
they're
bad.
he hasn't been bad. Just you gotta throw. You can't throw him out there every game. So
Yeah.
I think they just pull a guy from the stands and say, "Hey, you're pitching today."
No, if you're an Athletics fan, wherever they are these days, somewhere in the state of California, that team moves around so much. I don't think you can be mad about this season. The offense has shown great signs. The pitching staff is not there, but you kind of knew that. You got a good team for the future. Just get a extra few arms, and they'll be competitive. Like that, I don't
And
think that's a bold take. I think that's just how it looks.
well, you gotta retain your players too. That's the big thing of it.
They started that. They gave Butler that like 8-year extension before the season began. Gave
Yeah, and
Rucker
I
a nice
think
extension.
you got to sell this team to the city of Las Vegas. So
Yeah,
maybe they're gonna start dishing out deals and stuff. I don't know. You can't take this team to Las Vegas, and yeah, they'll be
be a small
successful
market
there the
team.
first few years. But I mean, if it's like this every year, maybe it'll fall off. You're just relying on the tourists to come watch the game. But
Yeah.
are they gonna want to sit in 40-degree weather? I mean, that thing's gonna be pumping with AC. I know that.
Yeah, you do have to bring a winning team to Vegas. Look at what the Golden Knights have done. They've made that place a hockey market just because they don't stop losing.
Yeah, and even now the Raiders bringing in Pete Carroll and changing quarterback and drafting the running back, and they're trying to make that a winning city.
But you have to though. It's Vegas.
It's
I
Vegas.
don't.
It's a show.
It's a show. You got to put on a good show. You got to bring in the talent. They could. It all depends on if they want to spend the money, because
Got to reach in the pocket.
that's been the problem when they were in Oakland. But yeah, look at the Angels too. 8-game winning streak.
Yeah, who would have thought, eh?
Who would have thought? NL West, a dogfight as always. 4 teams above 500. 4 of the best offenses in the MLB. Los Angeles Dodgers still on top, despite they're kind of struggling. 5-5 in their last 10, 32-19 on the season, an amazing record. 2 games behind them is the San Francisco Giants, 30-21. Third place is the Padres, 3-7 in their last 10. They did the classic Padre thing where the offense fell asleep, got shut out in back-to-back games by the Blue Jays. They're 28-21. Fourth place, Arizona Diamondbacks. They just need a bullpen, 26-25. And then the Colorado Rockies, 9-42. You allow 325 runs, you're not going to win 10 of your first 50 games.
Absolutely not. And I think this is kind of playing out how we thought it was going to play out. All 4 of these teams battling for the division. Obviously, Dodgers going to be leading the way. Probably thought it was going to be the Padres or Diamondbacks in 2. Still early, but the Giants, they've, a team pieces, stringing it together, getting some pitching. Only allowed 188 runs on the season, plus 46 differential. So if they can keep this up, they're going to be in this push to the end. And holy, how about Wilmer Flores? I don't think anyone would have saw him. I don't know if he's still leading the league in RBIs, but he's been hitting it in every clutch spot. And I think the Dodgers still take it, but I think the Padres are interesting if they add another piece or 2.
Yeah. Well, you take a look at the Giants pitching staff. Robbie Ray returned to form. The bullpen is lights out because Camilo Duvall is legit
He
again.
turned it around.
They've got multiple relievers with sub-2 ERAs, 3 legit starters, and Justin Verlander's still throwing innings. He's a shell of his former self, a mid-4 ERA, but you got him at the back of the rotation. You know that he could go out there and just be lights out occasionally, especially if they do make it to the playoffs. Justin Verlander just locks in for 5 innings. I could see that happening.
Yeah, in a 7-game series, if it's game 4 and you can throw him out there. From watching him, what I've watched, I wasn't that impressed, but I think at least he has that mentorship role with the players there, which I think is kind of undervalued.
Giants are a good example of rebuilding on the fly. Never really had a good farm system, but just thrown together mid-70 win seasons and now another winning season. It's 2021 again for them.
Yeah, and slowly adding pieces, right? They added Chapman a couple years ago, Jung-Ho Lee, and then this year brought in Willie Adames. Hasn't been that great, but you're betting on the talent of him to turn it around. And then Heliot Ramos, probably one of the best left-handed pitching killers in the league. So it's a well-constructed lineup. And I think I said that in our earlier in the season in a preview. I was like, I kind of like this Giants team. Like, just the construction of the lineup is winning baseball, and the pitching was the question, and they're getting the pitching, and Robbie Ray return definitely helps that.
Yeah, this team, if they could either get Adames to return to form or buy a bat at the deadline, they could be deadly, assuming their play continues, injuries don't pile up, people don't fall off, but they're just well balanced. There doesn't seem to be a glaring weakness right now, which is like I said, it's what happened in 2021, and it's a magical year for the Giants.
Yeah, and we're in an even year, right, too? So maybe not this year, but maybe
doing
next
that again. Yeah. I think that'll do it for this episode, unless you got some closing remarks you want to make.
Closing remarks. I don't have any spicy hot takes today. I usually say them if I got them.
Not this week, no?
No.
It's good to have you back on the show. Thanks for joining in.
Thank
you.
We'll
see you all next week.
Alex must be getting paid a lot. He's always taking vacations and stuff.
Yeah. See you next week.